Danny just recently stated that, according to a survey by CBS, when officers pull someone over, they do not question the legality. This is because, besides the federal law, they do not actually have the ability. What this law actually does, what 1070 actually permits, is from any officer being able to question it. And for the most part, he stated that this law will create somewhat of a fear of Hispanics being deported. But what this actually really does is it creates a deterrent. If more illegal immigrants are pretty much scared to be sent back as opposed to being reprimanded by any sense, then they probably will think twice before committing the crime or perhaps even immigrating in the country. Also, illegal immigration pretty much takes a large toll on the state that whatever it has to pass through. For instance, illegal immigration does take quite a few jobs from Americans. For instance, a study of immigrants in Arizona published in 2008 found that non-citizens held an estimated 280,000 full-time jobs. What this pretty much does is, in a time of crisis, in a time where Americans cannot find jobs, cannot sustain their family, 280,000 are being held by illegal immigrants who really have no bearing within the country itself. Also, the law will, for that reason, will benefit the legal residents that do live in Arizona. For instance, according to CBSNews.com in an April 29th article, they state that the departure of illegal immigrants will help dismantle part of the underground economy here and create jobs for thousands of legal residents in a state with a 9.6 unemployment rate. So what you're mixing here is a high portion of illegal immigrants that hold jobs and an incredibly high unemployment rate. Of course, unemployment rate really only takes into consideration legal residents. Therefore, by reducing illegal immigration, you create more and more jobs for legal residents within the states. Also, in terms of costs, there are some cases where, for instance, they take advantage of various bills within the U.S. For instance, according to the Allegiance for Immigration Reform, Mexican ambulance drivers are driving their hospital patients who cannot pay for medical care in Mexico to facilities in the United States. They do this because they know that the Federal Emergency Medical Act mandates that U.S. hospitals with emergency room services must treat anyone who requires care, including illegal aliens. What this pretty much says is that they're using their position of carrying someone who cannot possibly pay over the border into the hands of the U.S. doctors because they are required to. And of course, this will come out, this will add further taxation as we attempt to counteract it. Let's see. I'd like to sum up the negative aspect by stating that the number of people who support the bill is greater than the people who oppose it. For instance, 60% of likely voters nationwide favor the passage of a law authorizing police to inquire about an individual's immigration status. 31% are opposed. So this is April 2010. This is after overwhelming majority swept President Obama into the office, him being Democratic and illegal immigration being more on the agenda of Republicans. Therefore, this is saying that the majority still favors that. And my final statement is that America has always had immigration laws in place. For instance, I'd like to cite the Immigration Law of 1924. This law essentially, what it does is it created quotas, which essentially restricted immigration, which denied any citizens, once they met their quota, from entering the United States.